Hey folks, welcome to our channel.
Family friendly bushcraft!
If you want to see different content, put it in the comments below. Click that like button, hit subscribe and ring that bell for notifications. Folks, today we're going to be turning cotton. This is just a strip of an old t-shirt into charcloth. Using one of these tins. We've seen a couple of videos so far. We use these for making the buddy burner. Be aware though, when you're using these with fire, they do come with a polyurethane type insert in for those who use these same sort of tins for creams, lotions, all that kind of stuff. So we want to get rid of that. It's nasty stuff when it starts burning. Okay, so we've got our tins ready to prepare, and first thing we need to do, we can see there's no room there for any of the gases to escape. Again, we're going just through the lid. Just want one hole in the middle of the lid. That's to let the gases out as we start to heat up the cotton fibre. I'm going to go ahead and do that with the rest of these. There we go. Now then, we have our empty tin with the lid in the middle of the hole, with the hole in the middle of the lid. And what we want to do is take our strip of cotton, and it has to be proper cotton, not cotton with nylon, though it will work to some extent in an emergency, but what we want is as much charcloth from the material as possible. I'm going to make a nicely wound, tight coil of this stuff. This actually came from my Guinness t-shirt. I'm loath to get rid of it, but it's starting to run to holes. They make nothing to last. I've only had it for about 20 years. Stuff's a pain in the butt. Now we can see it is a fair bit deeper than the depth of the tin itself. That's so that as we boil away all the gases and fluids from in the cotton itself and really char it and dehydrate it, it will reduce down in size. And as it reduces in size, obviously it'll take less space in the tin. Now, in making these tins the way we're doing and making a batch of them, my intent is that the boys get one each for in their bushcraft kit. So to go along with their buddy burner, the knives they've recently been given, we're slowly building a nice set of kit for bushcraft. Now we can see there's plenty of room around there. Normally I'd fill the tin right up, but I just want to work quickly for the demonstration today. Get it fastened nice and tight, because the only air movement we want is through the hole in the middle. That's where it should be gassing off very shortly. Now, whose turn was it to light the fire this week? No, it wasn't. You did it the first week. Whose turn was it?
I think it's mine.
Okay, so get some cotton wool and some bits out the shed. Get your bushcraft knives ready, because we're doing bushcraft, aren't we? Don't go away yet. Start to build the fire, start to feather some sticks, get it ready to rock, okay? Well, that's them engaged with the fire, so we'll see you around at the fire. Right, so later on, when we've boiled or steamed or basically cooked the moisture and other stuff out of the cotton inside the tin, when we remove it from the fire, the chances are if we left the hole open as it is, then it would just suck air in. The air and the heat and the fuel source would lead to combustion, and we would have no charcloth. So what we do when we rake it away from the embers, we plug it with a bit of stick, make it airtight. I've seen people use bits of stone on that as well. You know, whatever seals the hole and stops the air getting in. Then let it cool down, and we've got our charcloth ready to take a spark then. Okay, so we've had a bit of a bonfire now. We've got rid of a load of old rubbish fencing stuff. We're starting to get a decent bed of embers underneath. So what we're going to do now is introduce the tin to the fire so we can get that heat to work, burn off the moisture and all the other extra bits out of that cotton material. I'm going to do it a tin at a time and we can watch the process. Now we're just a couple of minutes in, we can see the fire tarnishing the tin and we can see the gases are coming out of the top and catching light now. That's as the heat burns through that cotton, forces all the vapours out through the end. The vapours then catch light. Of course the heat inside the tin is much hotter than the air outside, so it's not drawing oxygen back in, so that should be a nice clean burn without actually catching fire to the cloth itself. But what we need to do now, we need to wait until that flame's gone out, until the gases have stopped coming out of the top of that tin. Then we'll remove it from the fire, plug the hole and let it cool, and then we'll see how good the charcloth is. There's Conan Tyson and Connor just coming into view, all rocking their family-friendly bushwear apparel. See how far this will zoom in, there we go. Oh, well, smart as a carrot, the three of them. Okay, we see we've got a couple of tins on now. We've done one tin on its own, now we're going to do two together. So, in a minute we should see some vapour start coming from the centre holes in these tins. It'll start out as a white smoke, and smoke, as we know, is just incomplete combustion. Initially it will be white and fairly thick, and then it'll probably catch fire. Once that smoke, once that vapour's stopped coming from the centre of the cans, we can then remove them from the heat, remove them from the fire, plug the holes, allow to cool, and then we should, everything being equal, have a nice bit of charcloth. I've only ever done this before with old air gun tins. These are a new one on me. So we'll see if they're as good as they were for the buddy burners. Let's see in a few minutes time. I'll just put them down there. Okay, you're still recording, so there we see there we see the tins are starting to tarnish a little bit now. They come with a coating, it seems. I'm not quite sure what that is. It didn't say anything on the specifications when I bought them. But as we'll see in a few minutes time, when it's finished going through the process, that coating soon burns away and leaves a nice clean shiny tin. These old Christmas trees have done us proud in the bushcraft this year. They're no good for burning in the hearth because of the residue they leave on the chimneys. Am I recording? These old Christmas trees have done us proud this year for the bushcraft. They're no use for burning in the hearth because of the residue they leave in the chimney, but perfectly good for getting a bit of fire going, burning off some old fencing as we've been doing. Now we can see this tin on the right hand side there starting to gas off now. Try and zoom in a little bit. There we go. As soon as the wind stops, you do get to see it a little bit blowing out of the vent hole in the middle there. That's just a case of keeping it nice and hot around, allow that process to finish, allow all the moisture and the bits we don't need to be boiled out of the cloth. go, it's really blowing away now. You can see the contrast of the white smoke against the fire and the flames around the sides. Probably that gas will catch fire in a minute. Yeah, it's going good style now. I've seen people before intentionally light the gas so it can burn away. There you go, it's caught. Personally, I let nature take its course and allow it to go through its own process. Now charcloth making is, I'll start that again. Now charcloth making is one of the fundamentals of firelighting in my view. It's really dead simple to do. All you need is a bit of cotton, a tin or another vessel to do it in, and it'll take the smallest spark, especially when it's nice and fresh. Real easy to make. You can make it around the homestead, you can make it in the hearth if you're going away somewhere where you're going to need a fire. And it's one of them things that always looks impressive if you can use a traditional flint and steel. Strike a spark off into the charcloth, get it going into the bird's nest and get a natural fire going that way. How the ancestors survived. Now we can see the flame is quite fierce, but it is starting to die down in height now. As the pressure eases inside the tin, as all the excess material is burnt away, there's less to come out obviously, so that's what's going on here. You can see it's getting really quite small now. I'm going to move the other one a little bit further on because that's a bit behind. I do have the pegs ready to go. Really quite keen to see how good these tins are. As I say, I've used air gun pellet tins before, and the threads on those are tight enough to stop any oxygen seeping in through the inside, so let's just hope that these tins are a similar construction. Although they do feel a little bit looser when you're moving them about. I may be nicely surprised here, I think. There we go, we've got both tins gassing up and burning now. The first one is waning quite a little bit now, though it's still going surprisingly strong. I thought it would be finished well before now. Houston, we do have a slight problem. These tins are not as good as air gun pellet tins, as we can see. Unfortunately, they are aluminium and do burn through, so just to be aware of what you're buying. Kind of hoping we still have some salvageable charcloth in there though. That's alright, that one stayed whole. I'm going to take it away. I'm going to cork the hole. As we can see, it's there corked. Trying to keep any bit of gassing off still quite a little bit. I'm hoping we've done enough to save the tin and save the charcloth inside. Connor. That's just there to cool down a minute. Right, looking at that second tin that came off, that was still intact, so I'm hoping that these last two will remain intact. And it's just that the fire was a little bit fierce around that first attempt. Trying to get on with it and trying to beat the weather sometimes doesn't do you any favours at all. As we can see, this bloody smoke. Now this was the first tin that came off. As you can see, because of the compromise, the charcloth inside is still burning away, and that's doing exactly what we would want it to do were we using it to light a fire. You see the good old glow there? That is just one giant ember. Unfortunately for us, absolutely useless now. See these tins when they're gassing off, once the gas lights here, is almost like a little Bunsen burner, isn't it? So the second tin to come off, as we can see, that's maintained its integrity. It has been sealed, and I get this third one out. Again, this tin has kept its integrity, so hopefully 2 out of 3 success rate so far. Now this was the second tin out. Now I've just had the base in some cold water for a minute just to cool it down, to speed things up and be able to show you for the camera. As we can see, the tin has kept its integrity. We've stopped getting any gassing off from it now, so let's see what we've got inside. Okay, so these particular tins, they're not really suitable for this because the lids try to seal on, and there we go, we've got our charcloth. We can see it's kept the same shape and substance of the original cloth. This was an old Guinness shirt, like I say, and we can tell it's charcloth because it just pulls apart so easily, and we can see how fibrous that is. Now then, proof of the pudding is in the eating, so what we're going to do is, Tyson, can you pass me the fire tin please? I want the flint and steel out of it.
Sure.
Thank you, mate. We have the traditional flint and steel, and we're going to see if we can build an ember out of that. Okay folks, so making the charcloth, the camera died, so we just had to recharge the batteries. Weather's closed in a bit again now, so we're back in the workshop. Last time we were in here we were making the body burners out of those tins, if you remember, with the cardboard, the wax and the Vaseline mix melted down. So they're all good to go, they're part of the kids' fire kit. Now, same sort of tins as we've seen, as we saw in the fire earlier. And we have the charcloth inside. These again are going to go in the boys' kit, so they've got one each. We're going to take out a little bit of charcloth to give it a go. You may notice this is a little bit bigger piece of flint than what we would take in the kit, but I haven't got around to breaking it down yet. And the trick is not in the making the sparks, but in getting them where you want them to be. and getting them to catch. So we can see we got quite a good strong ember growing there. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take all this bunch of charcloth because it'll just make a bigger ember as it goes along, and I'm going to drop it in this nest of birch bark and see if we can't make a flame. I'll step outside a bit. There we go. Up it goes. There we got flame. Beautiful.
That can just burn out.
Now that's perfectly safe on the stone floor. We're going to leave that to burn out of the way, but you can see now how we take that little spark into the charcloth, blow some life into it, drop it in the nest of tinder, and we can get our fire going. There we go. That's how to make and use a little bit of charcloth for the boys' kit. All the best. See you next time.
If you've enjoyed watching today's content as much as we've enjoyed making it, please do hit subscribe, press like, ring that bell for notifications, and leave any comments below. We'll do our best to answer any questions that are posted within the first couple of days of posting. All the best for now, and see you in the next video.